Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and welcome to another live WAM news update. I am Josh Sigurdson, of course, as I mentioned. It's been a long few weeks, and I'm really excited to finally get back to doing some of these because I've been in the Sahara Desert in Mauritania, Morocco, Spain, France, Germany, the United States, and Canada in the last month, and it has been epic to say the least. So I'm just really excited to finally be back in this part of the world and do what I can as far as bringing you content because it was annoying seeing news stories and literally not being able to do anything about it while I was gone. So anyway, we've got quite a few news stories to talk about today. I do see some people tuning in. I see Rob B. Any word on one-day passes for Red Pill? I have not gotten any word for it, but there is a contact form. I'm just an affiliate for the Red Pill Expo, so I'm not 100% personally sure about the one-day passes. So you'll have to contact them at the Red Pill Expo. I'm not sure if I said I was going to get back to you on that. I apologize if I did. Yeah, it's been kind of hectic over here. Logic PDK says thumbs up to you as well. Justin Shillington says, when will you post more videos about the reshot? As soon as I can get them edited. I have like 30 hours of footage to edit. I've been editing through as much of it as I can, but I also got to get videos up every day at the same time. So editing a documentary at the same time as catching up because, by the way, I lost like all of them. I don't have, like, I'm poor right now because I didn't post videos all month. And I got back to huge amounts of debt and all that kind of stuff. So it's been really hard. I've been trying to catch up by getting as many videos out because not only do I like to bring you guys information, but the second I stop, YouTube makes it nowadays so that algorithm doesn't allow anyone to see anything, period. And then our videos get 0 views, and I get like no views on any videos. Despite having like 1,200 videos up, I'll get like 2 or 3 views on videos throughout the day if I just don't post anything for a week. So yeah, it's really brutal. I'm trying to catch up as much as I can, and I got to get all the videos up. I see Pete Kingston says, let's go to the Amazon. I'm happy to go to the Amazon rainforest, but it'll have to come after Iran, Iraq, Turkey, and Mexico this year. MCL says, hello, bravo for your channel. Thank you very much. And anyway, I'm going to get to some news stories and see what we got here. Again, what I do here is I completely wing it. I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do before I do it. We get the news stories. I give you my take on these news stories. Obviously, these news stories, I've heard them before and I understand them. I wouldn't just like wing something that I don't know anything about. But I'm going to read the article and we're going to just kind of wing a story here because that's the best way to do it with these live shows is I open it up, I tell the story, I talk about it, and then I close it off and don't go anywhere because I will still be here. I see 25 out of 126,000 people watching. All right, well, YouTube showed 25 of you anyway, so that's good to hear. Man. Anyway, I'm going to get the first story ready to go here, and then we're going to go into it. Again, I'm going to be back to answer questions, so don't go anywhere after I close off this report. It's just the best way to do it is to do it this way. Anyway, let's get to this. All right, as this story says, coming out of Need to Know News by G. Edward Griffin, of course, Need to Know.news. The story regarding Canada, of course, it's always a crazy story out of Canada. Justin Trudeau threatens consequences if social media sites don't ban hate speech. How about someone ban Justin Trudeau groping women and extorting the masses? Anyway, let's see what this story says. As the article goes into, Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau on Tuesday threatened social media platforms with consequences and meaningful penalties if they don't step up and ban everything his regime feels is hate speech or disinformation. And it shows here, I guess off of Twitter, social media platforms must be held accountable for the hate speech and disinformation we see online, and if they don't step up, there will be consequences. We launched Canada's new digital charter today to guide our decisions. Learn more about it here, blah, blah, blah. And remember, this is the same government that just gave like $600 million to bail out Canada's mainstream media. So basically, the Canadian government, I almost said dictatorship there, Canadian government pays medias to toe the line. It's out in the open, and I'll get into that more in a moment, but as it says, Canada's new digital charter. The 10 principles of the charter. Number 1, universal access. All Canadians will have equal opportunity to participate in the digital world and the necessary tools to do so, including access, connectivity, literacy, and skills. Number 2, safety and security. Canadians will be able to rely on the integrity, authenticity, and security of the services they use and should feel safe online. Well, you are safe online because no one is directly attacking you physically. It's words and stuff. Turn it off if you don't like it. Number 3, control and consent. Canadians will have control over what data they are sharing, who is using their personal data, and for what purposes, and know that their privacy is protected. Privacy except for from the government. Number 4, transparency, portability, and interoperability. Okay. Canadians will have clear and manageable access to their personal data and should be free to share or transfer it without undue burden. Number 5, open and modern digital government. Canadians will be able to access modern digital services from the Government of Canada, which are secure and simple to use. Carrying on. Number 6, a level playing field, whatever that means. The Government of Canada will ensure fair competition in the online marketplace to facilitate the growth of Canadian businesses and affirm Canada's leadership on digital and data innovation while protecting Canadian consumers from market abuses. From market abuses, the greatest abuse of the markets comes from the government restricting competition under the guise of ensuring fair competition. No, the individual decides, not some coercive organized crime cartel we call government. Ridiculous. So backwards. Number 7, data and digital for good. The Government of Canada will ensure the ethical use of data to create value, promote openness, and improve the lives of people at home and around the world. You mean government officials that want all of people's information and the ethical use of data? Whatever you designate as ethical, just like whatever you designate as hate speech. Number 8, strong democracy. The Government of Canada will defend freedom of expression and protect against online threats and disinformation designed to undermine the integrity of elections and democratic institutions. You mean people attacking politicians for being terrible organized crime henchmen? Puppets, if you will? I mean, again, it's another example of defend freedom of expression, except for when it doesn't benefit the state. So Orwellian. Number 9, free from hate and violent extremism. Canadians can expect that digital platforms will not foster or disseminate hate, violent extremism, or criminal content. So whatever you designate as hate, again, it's so subjective. Number 10, strong enforcement and real accountability. There will be clear, meaningful penalties for violations of the laws and regulations that support these principles. So let's talk about this a bit. First of all, I want to mention that, again, as far as hate speech goes, there is absolutely no way to designate that. When someone gets offended by, someone painting a building white, which I've seen before, people getting actually offended because someone painted a building white, especially in Canada, should that then be banned? Is that considered hateful? It kind of is very subjective, and if people cannot take care of their own feelings, then that's on them. That's their personal responsibility. Freedom is individual responsibility and not coercive force by the state, which is just a domino effect towards complete collectivism and control and enslavement. I mean, yeah, were the slaves on the plantations protected ethically? Well, according to the plantation owners, sure. Maybe not so much for the slaves themselves, but there's also the factor of Stockholm syndrome. But I have to mention, again, the Trudeau government has bailed out mainstream media, given $600 million to mainstream media outlets who were failing because people weren't watching them anymore because they don't buy the nonsense propaganda constantly being shoved down people's throats. But on top of that, having confronted Justin Trudeau, of course, I called him a scumbag in 2017. There's a lot more to that story because the media didn't cover it properly and didn't show me getting choked up by guards. But anyway, I got to the place. I got to the press conference. I was the first person there. When I was ready for us to, ask him questions, these people from the government came up to all the medias and said, "You can ask one of these 5 questions, and yeah, that's the way it goes." And I said, "Well, I have my own question." They said, "Well, then you can't ask a question." Every mainstream media outlet, Huffington Post, CBC, CTV, Global, all sorts of different mainstream news outlets were like, yes, of course, we will do that. I had a question about how do you justify people having to choose between feeding their families and heating their homes in the winter due to your carbon tax, a tax on everything. And of course, they wouldn't have that. So I stood at the side of the room and then I confronted him. And of course, instantly, well, he was doing his, talking points that were already scripted. But then a security guard grabbed me by the throat. All mainstream media cameras turned away, and the guy pushed me against the wall. And then they told me to go around the cameras, and I said, screw this. And I decided I was going to walk in front of him and yell at him because at that point, there's no other recourse other than to get the news to pick the story up. And I did, successfully, though they claimed that I swore at him in front of children. There was no children around and all that kind of stuff. Normal lies that the mainstream media spreads, then copies and pastes the same story and shares it all over the place. So, what about my free speech? What about my free expression? And what about the fact that the government completely controls a narrative like a dictatorship? How about the fact that they call everyone Nazis while acting like Nazis? How about the fact that they are paying off medias? How about the fact that they are incredibly hateful by stealing the vast majority of people's income in order to, pay off the interest on the debt, which is fraudulently created by the printing of fiat currency at the Bank of Canada? I mean, guys, it gets so extensive. The carbon tax, the tax on everything. Rural communities are dying. People are getting more and more impoverished, and they claim that this all comes under the guise of helping the poor. It is so sick that we still have to deal with this and that people still haven't gotten the obvious fact that they are slaves. And the only way to not be a slave is to not obey and not fall for this nonsense. Imagine, as it is, it's already like this, but every time you turn on the TV, it's just always propaganda. It's programming for a reason. Shut them off. Shut off your television. But of course, my words are going to mostly go to deaf ears, except for our viewers here at World Alternative Media that watch us. But at the same time, independent media is getting ripped apart. This is the end of free speech on the internet, as far as I'm concerned, as outside of the decentralization, maybe blockchain aspect of things. Because, at the moment, we aren't reaching our subscribers for the most part. We are posting videos and they'll get like 1,000 views in the first couple minutes sometimes, and then they'll just freeze like that forever and barely go up, maybe 5 or 10 over the next few weeks after. We are losing hundreds and hundreds of, about 1,000 actually, subscribers a week from our channel as our subscriptions still go up, but we're losing so many that it looks like we're only, making 2 or 3 subscribers a day when we were making 400 subscribers a day a while back ago. Over 700 people have messaged me in the last 2 weeks saying that they were randomly unsubscribed, and then I talked to YouTube about it, and YouTube says, "What are you talking about? That's not happening. It's all in your head. It's normal. It's spam bots." Oh yeah, 700 spam bots, I guess, have messaged me claiming individually that they've been unsubscribed randomly. People who've been following me and commenting on our videos for years. And this is just the teetering, we're off the cliff basically at this point. And the Canadian government is doing what the French government has done in the past. So many governments around the world, and acted like an organized crime racket to control the narrative and completely destroy any remaining free speech that we have. And it's a normalization of the destruction of free speech. And this isn't really a private corporation, considering the fact that they've gotten billions of dollars from the government. And we're not talking about tax breaks. We're talking about actual subsidization through massive programs, including with the CIA and Defense Department and all, or the State Department and all that. So anyway, this is all about censoring information because we are in an era where the information war is really heating up, and what we do next means everything. What we do next, the next move, is how we decide our own fate, our own future. The access to information for free here on the internet and elsewhere is crucial to making our own educated decisions and not becoming slaves, not allowing another Stalin, not allowing another Hitler, not allowing another Mao. But instead, we have a government that has killed more than all those people, by the way, I'm just saying, over the last century. And we think we're in a peaceful, free society, and we're, everything's getting better all the time. It isn't. We're becoming more and more debt slaves. I'm optimistic, but I also think that we need to break free and disobey immediately because we have very little time left to really break free from this massive, massive level of deception and misinformation that that's being pushed down our throats from both sides, the right and the left. The collectivist paradigm, an initiative meant to drive us against each other, so we're busy fighting each other instead of looking at the true enemies, the ship of state that drives us against each other and creates order out of chaos in order to destroy our free will and our ability to be responsible and make us dependent and weak and stupid. That is a goal. And it comes down to you and what you do next that'll change everything. So again, for everyone that's wondering, we do have a Subscribestar account that helps you guys keep us running. We do subscriber only content on there. We need you more than ever. It's really bad. I don't know how much more longer we can sustain it. I will always make videos, but I really prefer not to be making them while I'm homeless because it'll be really difficult to continuously post videos every day. But anyway, it's just a heads up, guys. We are entering into some really shady territory, and we've already entered into it. It's not on our doorstep anymore. It's in our house, and what are we going to do about it? Anyway, until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. All right. So, again, for those that are wondering, we do our reports live, and then we finish off the reports, and then we continue taking questions from the audience and whatnot, and we cut out the reports later on and post them as individual reports. It allows us to get a lot more work done with a lot less time put into editing and all that craziness. Let's get into a story that is less depressing, but more. It's kind of depressing. I don't know why I'm putting my headphones in. It's just it's more about a different subject matter that doesn't involve the divide of politics and freedom and everything, and more about our history being destroyed, which we've seen a lot of over the past few years. So I'm gonna get that story ready to go here. Take a breath. I've been working too hard lately, so I'm getting a little bit crazy. But what's new? All right. Oh, and by the way, let's see. Thank you very much, Rainy Steps. Howdy doody, mister. Sent $2.79 Canadian dollars. Really appreciate that. The super chat helps a lot, guys. It keeps us alive and keeps us running because we aren't making money off of this. I'm telling you, like, people keep saying, well, can you stop? Can you start posting more videos? And I'm like, I post 1 or 2 a day. And then they're like, on top of that, and also stop putting ads on your videos and stop asking for donations. And I'm like, do you understand how this works? Like, how do you expect me to post videos with no money at all? I'll die of starvation. Like, I don't know. Working 18 hours a day at things usually takes a few dollars. But anyway, some people, I'm not going to let it get to me. So yeah, I'm going to set up the next video here, and then we'll get right to it. Let's see. Another sip of this, and we're good to go. All right. 3, 2. All right, here's another story out of The Independent, and obviously you've heard us talk a lot about ancient civilizations, and it's one of my favorite subjects. I just got back from the reshot structure in Mauritania, documentary coming soon, 30 hours of footage, lots to edit. It'll come as soon as we possibly can bring it to you, because I got to post videos every day. But anyway, this is a story that I found through Graham Hancock. He was sharing it around, and it's really frustrating to see this kind of stuff continuously happen because people have so much disregard for history, especially important history that really tells us a story that too many are not willing to listen to. Anyway, as this article says, Machu Picchu, fury over plans for new multi-billion-pound airport next to ancient Inca citadel. Archaeologists and historians fear development will cause irreparable damage to World Heritage Site surrounding Sacred Valley. And Machu Picchu is just so absolutely incredible. The stonework is, I don't know of very many places in the world that have such intricate, beautiful stonework. It is a truly incredible place, and one of those places that the more we ignore, the less we learn. We need to understand the stonework, look at it, and understand that this wasn't all done at the same time. There's a difference between this stone wall, obviously, and this stone wall. And obviously, like I just showed, this stone wall, I mean, come on, guys. I mean, there's a difference between this beautiful, beautiful stonework of, puzzle pieces, essentially, and then you see more like this, and almost like dimples in the stone like we see in parts of Egypt as well, like the Valley Temple, etc., and the House of Osiris. But then you see on the top there, this stonework, which clearly doesn't fit. Obviously, the Incas found the place, as they even admit. They found the place and built on top of an already existing place that is far more ancient and far more technologically advanced. But we could go over this all day, and I'll continue to get into this further in the video. Big difference between the two kinds of architecture. But anyway, let's get into the story. As it goes into the development of a multi-billion-dollar airport that will fly tourists directly to Machu Picchu has sparked outrage among historians, archaeologists, and local people. Bulldozers have already begun clearing land for the airport in Chinchero, a well-preserved Inca city about 3,800 meters above sea level that is the gateway to Sacred Valley, or to the Sacred Valley in Peru. The valley provided maize and other crops to Incan rulers, and several emperors built their private estates there. Incan terraces still cover the hillsides around Chinchero and are used by local farmers. Those protesting against the airport fear it will cause structural damage to ancient ruins and environmental degradation across a large swath of the Sacred Valley, not just the famed citadel of Machu Picchu itself. And I quote, "The airport planned to be built in Chinchero, Cusco, endangers the conservation of one of the most important historical and archaeological sites in the world," wrote Natalia Majlouf, a Peruvian art historian at Cambridge University, who organized a petition against the development. She added that the airport will affect the integrity of a complex Inca landscape and will cause irreparable damage due to noise, traffic, and uncontrolled urbanization. Nearly 6,000 people have signed the petition, which calls on Martin Vizcarra, the president of Peru, to reconsider the project. Currently, most visitors to Machu Picchu arrive at Cusco Airport 50 miles southeast of the ruins and then either catch a train or bus to embark on the 4-day Inca Trail to reach the site. Oh, how inconvenient. I have to kind of ride a train a little bit for 50 miles to get to a beautiful site. Terrible. Anyway, carrying on. The airport has only one runway and is limited to handling stopover flights from Peru's capital, Lima, and nearby cities such as La Paz, Bolivia. But the new airport in Chinchero will be open to larger planes on international routes across Latin America and the US. The project was first announced in 2012 by Peru's former president, Ollanta Humala, and the government plans to complete the airport by 2023. At the time, Mr. Humala said the government would invest $460 million or 350 million pounds in the project, not including compensation to the farming communities whose land will be seized. Ridiculous. More attacks on private property. Announcing the project 7 years ago, he said, "The new airport will not only allow more tourists to come, but will also generate more jobs and will permit modernization and added value for the surrounding communities." But critics say the airport will bring noise and air pollution to the area and put a strain on limited water sources in the region. They have also expressed concerns that planes landing and taking off from the airport would need to pass low over the nearby Ollantaytambo Archaeological Park. They say this could cause structural damage to the Inca ruins in the park. More than 1.5 million tourists visited Machu Picchu in 2018, which is almost double the limit recommended by UNESCO. In 2017, UNESCO threatened to put the citadel on its list of World Heritage Sites in danger, owing to the huge strain tourism put on the fragile ruins and local ecology. Already, the Peruvian government has introduced a number of measures to curb overcrowding, including introducing the strict time slots for visitors and one-way circuits around the ruins. Justin Francis, chief executive of sustainable travel company Responsible Travel, told The Telegraph that he was worried about the impact the new airport and potential increase in visitor numbers would have on Machu Picchu. And I quote, "I thought I'd seen it all," he said. When we look back at what went wrong with tourism, this will be the story that sums it all up. Here, our world view that tourism growth is infinite rams up against the fact that every destination has a finite capacity, and more so 15th century Inca hilltop citadel. Well, of course. And again, this place is so incredibly intricate, so incredibly beautiful, something that everyone should visit. But at the same time, we also have to understand that with such capacities, we have to be careful about what we do to these ancient sites. Sure, they were built to withstand thousands of years, and some people would say that Machu Picchu is closer to, 12,000 years old in reality against mainstream beliefs. But we also have to remember that these massive modern machines can risk the entire site with, as they mentioned, these government land grabs. Of course, government says, yeah, we will, produce incredible things into the economy by being the economy and kicking out all those people that work hard for a living. For example, the farmers and this massive land grab that we're seeing, which is absolutely wrong on so many levels. And they think that they're going to come in and make everything better. Well, we saw what happened recently on a place that's natural, like Mount Everest. Countless people dying because there's lineups to get to the peak to take a selfie. It's no longer, one of those things that's newsworthy that someone climbed Mount Everest. It's happening constantly, all day, every day. And these sites, like Machu Picchu, are far more fragile than a mountain. And the mountain has been covered in garbage and all sorts of stuff in recent years. It's terrible. But again, Machu Picchu is one of the most incredible sites on the planet and gives us kind of a view into ancient civilizations that most places cannot give us, especially since, unfortunately, the Spanish, in conquering the Americas, destroyed almost every temple and destroyed pyramids and destroyed almost all the writing. The Incas, the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Olmecs especially, when they found this new world and considered it satanic. So they just destroyed everything they saw. And it's such a sad story. And now in modern times, we're seeing something that it really concerns me to see governments coming around the area putting just out of the idea of convenience. It's always a matter of convenience. We can get more people to Machu Picchu, which is already way overloaded, by putting an airport close by and causing massive traffic and causing vibrations that could seriously affect a lot of these structures and cause damage and destruction, and all so that more people could take selfies and we can make lots of money. Look, I'm someone that's all for people making lots of money, but the government stealing people's land, destroying their ability to make money, and then bringing in tons of tax money while people suffer and people are impoverished. It's just so wrong on every level. And look, Machu Picchu, like I said, is a window. And if we don't protect that window, we will destroy it before we get to the bottom of it. And I want to see people going to Machu Picchu and investigating the idea that there's earthquake damage in a lot of places in Machu Picchu that stands out greatly. And these walls were clearly built to withstand things like earthquakes. And yet there's stones on top that they claim were built at the same time that are very primitive in when you compare them. These stones on top that you could see it right here above this archway. You see these stones, obviously very primitive, and they somehow withstood the earthquake, but these massive stone blocks pulled apart. You could see some of the separation of the wall here. And of course, here, this is a great example. It pulled apart. And Brian Forrester on YouTube has done a lot of extensive research into this, breaking it down. So apparently this broke apart, this incredible, intricate stonework, but all this other kind of rubble stone stayed standing for all these thousands of years, or 1,000 years, as they say, or sometimes they say they'll stretch it to 2,000. It's just so wrong. What we've been told about ancient civilizations is so wrong. Look at that. Does that look like something that would withstand a massive earthquake, yet pull apart a building like we see here? So much evidence that there's intricate stonework that was done at Machu Picchu that we just do not understand as of yet. And when I see things risk the future of Machu Picchu, I get furious. The government isn't going to solve this problem. People will in large numbers. The government's causing this problem out of their incessant need for constant profit in order to spend on useless nonsense that they prolong and make inefficient so that they can get more grants and more money. It's ridiculous. This stonework is absolutely beautiful, and we should not forget it, and we should explore it. But let's not overload an ancient site, take selfies, and show your grandma. I mean, this is an important place. There's nothing wrong with doing that, of course. I just mean like, oh, there's more earthquake damage here. I just mean that there's more to the site that needs to be discovered, and it's not just all about having fun and playing around. These places need to be investigated heavily and understood. More earthquake damage, separated stone. Yet other parts, you can't fit a razor blade in between them. Anyway, I'm ranting, but you get the point. They carved out these stones. I don't know where they got the technology from it. People always say that they use these tools that you look at. It's just absolutely absurd. They're obviously not the kind of tools that would be appropriate for someone like this unless they took like 500 years to build it. It's absurd. But again, incredible stonework here. Primitive stonework in the foreground. More evidence of a lost ancient civilization, if anything. And hopefully this petition gets out there and more people speak up about this, and it has nothing to do with UNESCO or anything like that. It's about government not seizing lands and damaging ancient sites around the world. It goes without saying that we should protect these places just like we should protect the pyramids, because we've seen in places like Cairo wasn't a super ancient city. Cairo has completely eroded on so many ancient sites around the Giza Plateau that's just so sickening and sad to see. They destroy statues, broke down buildings, took stones from other ancient structures to use in the foundation of their homes, and just trampled on these beautiful sites that we have no record of now, because Cairo just continued expanding in Egypt and ripped apart all these ancient lands. It's sad. Our history is important for our own futures, folks. So anyway, I will continuously go into this. Again, we do have our documentary on the reshot structure coming up soon, so stay tuned for that. It's going to take a little while, actually, to put it together. 30 hours of footage, takes a long time to edit. So I'm going to do my best. It's really difficult. I've already posted a preview and everything. Stay tuned. Watch our channel, because we're getting shadow banned and they're not showing most of our subscribers when we post. So anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. All right. Let's see what we got here. Rainy Steps sent $2.79. My God, give Josh a few bucks, please. Then sent another $2.79. Can you all pitch in so Josh can get a new shirt? Yeah, I do wear this a lot. I actually have a lot of shirts that are the same, so it looks like it's the same shirt. But it works. It's a form of conformity to for YouTube. But it's branding. Anyway, yeah, it's been really difficult lately with the shadow banning, and it's been really difficult to keep up. Obviously, I don't even have money to pay rent this month, but nonetheless, I wanted to make sure that I brought you guys a great documentary, so I'm working on that, and I got back from Mauritania, and it was a beautiful country, actually. I really enjoyed it, but I did risk my life doing it, so any donation is very much appreciated. After all that, we've been losing subscribers like crazy lately. It's so brutal to watch. YouTube's just unsubscribing hundreds of people constantly, about 1,000 people a week. We just get a few more subscribers and we lose subscribers. So sometimes we get 2 subscribers in a day, sometimes as much as 40, which was a couple days ago. But the second I post a video, then YouTube just starts unsubscribing people. So we watch it drop like 20, 30, 40 from where it was. So at like 8 a.m. in the morning, I've made 40 new subscribers that day. And by 10 p.m. that night, it shows that I've made 12, 13 subscribers that day. Yeah. Lots of fun to deal with, folks. Anyway, let me just see what we got here. So many stories. So hard to keep up with everything. Let's see. That's an interesting story. That's an interesting... we'll go with this one. This is a big story that's been in the news lately. So, again, when we wrap up this video, stay around. I'm still going to be taking questions. I just do these reports and then cut them up after and throw them up as individual videos. But anyway, let's get to this. All right, as this NPR article says, something that's been in the news a lot lately, as you all know, UK's Theresa May resigns, acknowledging failure to deliver Brexit. And of course, she teared up and was sad. And, oh, the crime boss is sad. Oh, no. UK Prime Minister Theresa May acknowledged defeat Friday and announced her resignation as leader of Britain's Conservative Party. And I quote, "It is and will always remain a matter of deep regret to me that I have not been able to deliver Brexit," said May, standing at a podium in the sunlight outside number 10 Downing Street in London. Intentionally or otherwise, May was summing up her legacy as most here see it today. She is a prime minister who spent nearly 3 years trying to honor the result of a landmark 2016 Brexit referendum and, despite a relentless effort, failed. In the summer of 2016, May thought she was the right person at the right moment. British voters had stunned the world and voted to take the UK out of the European Union. Then Prime Minister David Cameron, who had called the vote for political reasons, never thinking it would actually pass, resigned. Boris Johnson, the former mayor of London, emerged as a frontrunner to replace Cameron, but Johnson's own campaign manager publicly torpedoes his effort, leaving May the only viable candidate left standing. Many believe running for prime minister was May's first big mistake. And viable, I'll put that in quotations. This is supposed to be a non-biased media platform, NPR, but yeah, we'll see about that. Anyway, obviously a lot of stories coming out regarding this. If I could just refresh this page. Nigel Farage takes down another Tory government. Bye-bye, Theresa May. And it says Nigel Farage is the single most influential politician of the 21st century. And before he's done, he will have remade British and, by extension, European politics for the next century. I would actually say Ron Paul is far more influential, but I'll give Nigel Farage that anyway. The resignation of Theresa May marks the second Tory Prime Minister to fall because of Farage's steadfast support of an independent, sovereign United Kingdom. And of course, the Conservative Party in Britain is basically socialist. It's just, it's not as socialist as, you know, the laborers. But anyway, Farage understood from the moment that he entered politics that destroying the European Union was the ultimate goal. He knew that Britain had been completely betrayed by its entrenched and entitled political and aristocratic classes. He knew they cared nothing for the people they lord over as they cling to outdated ideals of their own inherent superiority. So, watching the collapse of the system of pelf and privilege that has paralyzed the recovery of the UK since the end of World War II, brought about in part by Farage's uncanny political instincts, has been one of the great pleasures of the last 10 years. People like David Cameron and Theresa May deserve their fates. The Eurocrats in Parliament, like the odious Dominic Grieve, will continue to prattle on about how they just know what's best for Britain, how a unified Europe is their future. But it isn't. A now not-so-silent majority of Europeans have come to realize that the EU they were sold is not the EU they have. In fact, it is the ultimate in anti-democratic institutions, designed as nothing more than to be a permanent unelected superstructure to ensure the power of those who erected it. Now, I must mention at the same time, it's absolutely absurd because it's this collectivist notion that you need to be led to the slaughter, or led, sorry, not to the slaughter, but that's what happens. And this notion that, well, the EU is undemocratic. Well, of course it is. It's, unelected bureaucrats at the ECB and unelected bureaucrats in London or in Brussels. And it's obvious at this point that it's a globalist organization of criminals that are trying to control the narrative, control the populace under one giant umbrella, and be able to control divide and conquer agendas as well. Order out of chaos, where they clash people together on the ground, left and the right, and cause people to attack each other and focus on each other instead of the real enemies that are controlling them and trying to push them into complete dependency and servitude, stupidity and weakness, and of course, again, dependence. And on top of that, with Brexit is not just an example of how people's vote doesn't matter. It's an example of, even if democracy did work, well, it wouldn't, because it would just be ignored. People voted on something and it didn't go the way they chose or wanted it to go. So then they put it off for 3 years, probably 4 years now, and probably even longer. If it doesn't benefit them, they must have time to focus on a new agenda to play out so that they can make this situation benefit them in one way or another. And of course they do the usual. They blame racism and nationalism. Personally, I think globalism and nationalism are basically the same thing. One's just smaller than the other, but it's still the collectivist notion that good ideas require force and that you need to enforce ideas via the will of a vast collective. This notion that 51% can rule the 49%, and that if the 49% disagree with something, well, tough luck. You are going to get extorted and forced to obey. And it's a never-ending story of greed and collectivism and control, and the governments and medias and propagated public school indoctrination camp systems that cause people to believe that they must have a mommy or a daddy controlling them in government. It makes sense when children spend most of their time in a public indoctrination camp government school, and then 2 or 3 hours a day with their parents, other than on weekends where they spend most of their time playing video games or watching shows that indoctrinate them further. It is no surprise that the era of government schools coincides with the era of complete dependency and weakness and stupidity. It's no surprise that the individual's IQ continues to diminish on a regular basis. And people are degraded and desensitized, and you see these videos of millennials that can't even open a can with a can opener. People are watching like in an audience. Whoa, you open that can? That's crazy. Think of how far we've fallen, folks, and I'm optimistic that this will end well long term. But when I see articles like this, here are the top contenders looking to become Britain's next prime minister, it just shows me, oh, well, one master that failed us and tried to enslave us has failed. So let's get another one. Maybe the messy hair guy, maybe the nice woman in the orangish red dress and skirt. Maybe this guy in a suit, he's bald. Or maybe this guy, he looks, well, like stock image of a politician. Anyway, maybe one of these guys can save us from the problems created by these guys in the first place. Britain's Theresa May announced her resignation, as it says, as Prime Minister on Friday morning, paving the way for a contest within the ruling Conservative Party to bring a new leader to power. How would you bring yourselves to power, folks? The announcement came after UK lawmakers refused to vote in favor of May's much maligned Brexit deal on 3 separate occasions since the start of this year. Fighting back tears, the outgoing Prime Minister said she had done everything she could to honor the 2016 EU referendum results. But with deep regret, she had been unable to deliver Brexit and lost the support of many within her own party. It's called just axing it. Do it. But, of course, government doesn't work on that basis. They try to perpetuate themselves and their own control complex. Who is likely to become the new prime minister? Former foreign minister Boris Johnson is seen as the bookmaker's favorite, having already received nominations for a leadership bid from the former Defense Secretary Gavin Williamson and Tory lawmaker Johnny Mercer. Johnson was one of the most prominent figures of the official Brexit campaign in 2016, with betting markets suggesting he has a 40% implied probability of winning the top job. And I quote, historically in conservative leadership contests, it's usually not the front runner, but the underdog that tends to win. Jordan Rochester, a foreign exchange strategist at Nomura, said in recent note published Thursday. Others tipped by betting markets include former Brexit Secretary Dominic Raab, with a 14% implied probability. Environment Secretary Michael Gove, former House of Commons leader Andrea Leadsom, and Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt each have a 7% likelihood of succeeding May, according to bookmakers. The likelihood of International Development Secretary Rory Stewart and Defense Secretary Penny Mordaunt securing the role stands at 4%, while Home Secretary Sajid Javid is given a 3% chance. But again, this is complete nonsense. This is bread and circuses for the masses. It's all theater. It's always been theater. And people say, well, I have a little bit of freedom on my farm as a cattle they are. They say, well, I have this grass to eat, so all is fine. Never mind the fences that surround us. I should just be happy with what I have. I got grass. I'm all good. Big smile, big smirk. Oh, where are all my friends going? And then they get led off by the shepherd to the slaughter that they voted in with a smile on their face. And by the time they notice what's going on, it's too late. So, again, I'm optimistic. I think we can replace government. I think we can overcome this. I think it's about evolving, not a revolution, but an evolution. But at the same time, seeing this stupidity and this circular paradigm of statism on, this cancerous cult of emotional irrationality we call collectivism, like an incremental frog boil, constantly growing and normalizing, we have big problems, folks. And it comes down to you as a responsible, free human being to break free from this. Speak for yourself, decentralize everything, rule yourself. Stop falling for these false idols, these mommies and daddies that you feel you need to solve the problems created by the mommies and daddies. Government isn't your parents. Government shouldn't be revered. Government shouldn't be loved. Government is an organized crime racket that only benefits from your dependence, your servitude, as they control you further and further all the time and rip away any funds that you have that you could have spent on something, I don't know, like feeding your children and helping yourself get a leg up in the world. Instead, they steal most of it to pay off the interest on the debt, blowing up babies overseas, etc., etc., etc. Oh, there's a new enemy, Iran. Let's go there. Oh, wait, they've been an enemy before as we, been part of coups and all that kind of stuff. Oh, well, they sponsor terrorism, kind of like, the Britain, the United Kingdom, the United States, and Canada have been part of for the last century, arming and funding more terrorists than anyone. And, of course, killing hundreds of millions of people over the last century. The biggest murderer, the MVP of murder, government. The MVP of pollution, government. The MVP of theft and kidnapping and torture, government. Maybe they can save us from extortion and murder and theft and kidnapping and pollution. Give your head a shake, folks. If you haven't already figured it out, you are the change you wish to see in this world and nobody else. Teach yourself that, teach your children well, and break free from this paradigm of complete collectivism and control. You are a free human being. Government cannot give you freedom. They can only take it away, and you have been fooled if you think otherwise into this collectivist paradigm. It's all part of a psychological operation to control the minds of the masses and therefore control the masses, period. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. All right. There's another report down. Okay, I see. Oh, great. Broken Components sent $10 in the super chats. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. It says, keep up the great content. I very much appreciate it. It keeps us alive. Those super chats make it possible for us to do all of this because we aren't making any money here at WAM anymore. We are basically going broke. And people say, well, stop putting ads on your videos and stop asking for donations and stop giving people options like through affiliates and post more content at the same time. And it's like, guys, this is a very difficult thing to do. And obviously I need to eat to be able to have sustenance to do videos all day, every day, 18 hours a day I work on this. So those of you that understand that and help us out, and if you can't help us out, I totally understand that. But those that understand that and help us out and understand it, period. We thank you so much. It keeps us alive, and you are the reason that we do all this stuff. And Rainy Steps and another 279 Canadian. Come on, people, buy Josh a coffee, please. Thank you so much. Again, really appreciate your enthusiasm, Rainy Steps. You are definitely a big help to all of us. And then Commissar Dave sent $1. Thank you. That $1 does go a long way. If every single subscriber sent us $1, well, there's 126,000 subscribers, so we'd be good for a very long time, and we wouldn't have to worry about YouTube censorship, period, because we would get far and above it. It only takes, a small portion of the population to help us destroy the mainstream media. Unfortunately, it usually goes to deaf ears, but that's the way it is. Richard Denio says, do you have content contributors? We have, of course, John Snyson, our economic analyst here at WAM. We have Chris Rice Crypto, who occasionally does interviews for us. And then we have Tim Pashot, who's new, who's been doing lots of reports for us lately, and we really appreciate him. We don't pay any of our content creators, though. They do it by their own want, and I really appreciate it. They make this possible as well. We're very, very blessed to have so many people willing to help us out and provide content that is good and hard-hitting and brings eyes to these topics that we all need to understand. Anyway, Zero Control says, do not let it all get to you. Yeah, I know. I'm not really letting it get to me. It's frustrating because, I got back from Africa, risked my life going to this place, did 30 hours of footage, and then within a day and a half, I had all these people saying, screw you, I'm unsubscribing because you haven't gotten us the documentary yet. Obviously, it's all BS, people claiming I was in front of a green screen, and it's like, and at the same time, I was going broke, and I'm just like, really? It just makes me wonder how many people really care, But I'm inspired all the time, all the same, by talking to so many incredible people, and it makes it all worth it. Again, we have our Red Pill Expo affiliate below and our AnarchoVegas affiliate below in the description. We also have Dash, Litecoin, Bitcoin, Subscribestar, Patreon, and GoFundMe that helps us keep this going on top of the super chats, which really go a long way. Again, thank you, Rainy Steps, another 279. Keep up the great work, Josh, he said. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Vention MGTOW says, well done, 10 USD Bitcoin tip. You should enable Lightning tips. I appreciate that. I'm a money guy. I'm not a tech guy. I'm really confused by a lot of this because some are accepting Lightning, some aren't, and it's all politics, right? Like as per usual in the crypto space, unfortunately, which is really detrimental to our push to really bring this to the next level. So I've had people try to send me Lightning payments before, and then it went to wallet, and then it just disappeared into space because my wallet didn't take it, and I don't know, but I'll get on that. I'm going to a Bitcoin meetup tonight in Las Vegas. If you're in Las Vegas, by the way, come out to Vegan Bites restaurant on Sahara at 7 p.m. Somewhere around there, 7 p.m. I believe. And oh great, I got a referral on Red Pill Expo. Thank you to whoever did that. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to Vegan Bites restaurant on Sahara in Las Vegas tonight for a Bitcoin meetup. So if anyone wants to come out to a crypto meetup, lots of great people there, the Las Vegas Bitcoin meetup. It's going to be a great time. Lots of anarchists, libertarians, and so on, and people who just love crypto and blockchain. So definitely make sure to come out to that. I see we got €5. It looks like euro. It's really tiny. €5 from Daryl Nugent. Thank you so much, Daryl. I appreciate that. Again, helps us a lot. You keep us going. I know I've said it a million times. I can't say it enough. These super chats stop me from going completely insane because I'm like basically scratching pennies to pay rent and eat and everything. Been really conserving this drink all day. Anyway, it's not all that bad, but it's pretty bad. Richard Deno, thank you so much for $5. Thanks, I really appreciate your work, he says. I'm so envious of your interviews with Ron Paul. Keep it up, sir. Yeah, I'm envious of it too. Sometimes I feel like I'm in another world and I'm looking down on myself talking to someone like Ron Paul. He was a huge influence on me going back to 2006, 2007. I was about 12 years old at the time. He really shifted my view insanely and got me to read so many books, changed my life forever. And to be able to have the opportunity to talk with him basically whenever I want, and to have hung out with him all these times. If you've ever seen my Facebook cover photo, it's a picture of me having a conversation with Ron Paul. I mean, I feel so lucky for that. So that's one of the great, like, of independent media, being able to talk to people you love, and obviously talking with the audience and having people actually listen to you and want to hear what you have to say. And, you know, all the money issues aside, and demonetization and censorship, to be able to hang out with someone like Ron Paul, to be able to talk with you guys, to be able to travel, even if it's basically scrounging whatever pennies I can to stay at a hostel, like in the case of Mauritania, where I stayed at a hostel at a border town in Shantyville with raw sewage running in front of the place. And there's just cockroaches and bugs everywhere. I was waking up with cockroaches all over my face. It still makes it all worth it to be able to experience this, because it's an incredible life, and every moment is just amazing. But anyway, Sturls with A to Z sent $19.99 US dollars. Thank you so much. Again, wow. This is good. This is a good day for super chats. I'm really appreciating all of these super chats. They go a long way and keep us up and running. So, just totally awesome. Richard Dino, please, thanks to WAM. Thank you. Big Zini says, that's gangster. LOL. The umpire's post says, Ron Paul, a rarity in politics. Very consistent for many decades. Super Paul. Agreed. He's amazing. Very few tiny things that I disagree with him on, and it's so minimal that it's not even worth mentioning. Let's see. We got Swampy McGee says, don't give up. Thank you. I will not. I'll never give up. I'll die before I give up. That's not an invitation, government. I've already been poisoned once. Anyway, Ben Frank OG, silver at bargain prices. Agreed. Totally undervalued in my opinion. And we just posted a video today with David Morgan on that. Incredible. And of course, most people haven't seen that because they're not delivering it to our subscribers. But if you've seen it, David Morgan's a wealth of information. Let's see. Sean Murphy. Thanks, Swampy. I agree with Sean. Thanks, Swampy. Rainy Steps, another $2.79 Canadian. Go crypto. I agree. And again, we have to bring it down to this level because a lot of people need it to be explained. I understand because it is confusing, and it took me years to understand it because I was just calling it, the mark of the beast for years, I'm telling you. But to understand the difference between cryptocurrency that's properly decentralized and fundamentally useful, and blockchain infrastructure technology that you can create things that are really decentralized and not controlled, versus cryptographic to some extent, to some degree, currencies that are centrally planned and pushed through legal tender laws by fiat through banks. So if your money's in the bank, it's not yours, it's the banks. And if your money's always going through the banks via digital transactions and legal tender laws, it's never your money. It's always the banks, and you are essentially enslaved to the government and the banking system through this system. So we have to understand, it's like there's food that's good, and then there's food that that is poisoned. The food that's poisoned doesn't outdo the food that's good. You need the food to sustain yourself, but the food that's poisoned, obviously it's terrible, but you cannot judge all food by that. Just like you can use a gun to slaughter a whole bunch of innocent people, but you could use that same gun to save all those innocent people from being slaughtered. The same goes for the blockchain, where you can use it if centrally planned to enslave humanity, and you could use it if decentralized to overthrow that which enslaves humanity. We must understand that. We must understand how that works, because in the future, one way or another, the blockchain will be one of the biggest complexes of power that we see in the world. It comes down to us on which way that goes, centralized or decentralized, and it's important we push towards decentralized and not ignore it as just some kind of mark of the beast and the government's controlling all of it. The government controls that which we don't control. So what are we going to do about that? We control and we push it in our direction, and we could use it to overthrow these massive complexes of control that we see throughout the world, but it depends on what we do next. Let's see. MIG Toe says poisoned sandwich. No, it was poisoned water. Someone poisoned my water back on Halloween last year. I did a live stream at the time. I was in critical condition. The hospital, nearly died. Luckily, I only took 2 sips, so Government's so inefficient they can't even kill me. If that was a free market, they would have had no problem. Anyway, I watch my drinks a lot more these days. Oh, my throat's killing me from talking. Let's see. Arturo Villalobos says, my friend Josh. Thank you very much, Arturo. You're all my friends here. Let's see. Big Zini says the world currency will be crypto and it will be Israeli. I don't know about that. It'll be if it's going to be a world currency, it's not going to be Israeli. It'll be through the United Nations, which I know the Israel has a lot of power over, but so does the United States, and so does Saudi Arabia, and so do a lot of these countries. China is a big one. China has their cashless system that they're pushing to the masses. I think there's equal blame to be thrown around there. Let's see. Soliton33 says, let's see here. Any more videos from Africa on the way? Yes, but you'll have to hold tight on that. It's going to take a while. And it's been crazy trying to organize all this footage. I took so much. I also got another video from Paris, but it was just like a vlog video of my adventures in Paris looking for yellow vests and Cynthia McKinney. Long story, you'll see. Trying to meet up with Cynthia McKinney is not easy, by the way. Let's see here. Avoid nail gun, says Bob Collins 3. Well, I don't know if it's in my hands. I'm good with that, as long as it's not in someone else's hands pointed at me. That would be painful. Let's see. Time for living. You are a fine young man. I appreciate all your work. I appreciate all our viewers very much. It makes it possible for us to survive as a media. YouTube's sure not making it easy, though. Let's see. Zach Willis, big fan of your efforts. However, I emailed you to ask what you thought about the accusations against Jeff, and I'm a fan of him too. Yeah, well, there's a lot of rumors that get thrown around, and if I'm not there to witness anything, I'm not going to throw rocks at someone. When you have someone like Bill Clinton where there's like 80 people that come out against you, it's different than people that are in some ways status, in some ways political rivals, in some ways jealous, and then in some ways they could be right. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I'm not going to judge something that I just don't understand. By the way, I do get hundreds, if not thousands, of emails a month. My mistake putting my email out publicly for everyone. I should get people to contact me for my personal, because it's just like I can't read through them. It started off as this is the only way I'll read them, and then it turned into there's a billion emails coming in. So anyway, Soliton33, awesome, thanks, love your channel, thank you very much. Rainy Steps and another $2.79 in the super chat. Thank you. You're keeping me alive here. Gonna have dinner to eat tonight. Jose is starving. Let's help him out. Maybe my name will be Jose in the future. I am learning Spanish right now. Doing what I can. Anyway, it's not very good yet. I'm just going through phrases. The Duolingo app is really awesome. Really helps you gain an understanding of a language. R Rafterman sent $2 in the super chat. Thank you. Not much. Keep up your work. God bless you. God bless you as well. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And Broken Component sent $2. Again, thank you. Thank you. Feed Jose. Hashtag feed Jose. Oh, man, that's going to get around. I always remember when Dan Dix was in jail in Copenhagen after trying to confront Bilderbergers. This hashtag came out called Free Dix. It's hilarious. It still goes around every now and then. Joni Mitchell. I do enjoy some good Joni Mitchell. Don't make fun of me. Says, are YouTube and Twitter going to be punished for their censorship? Well, I would hope by public demand, individual demand. The thing is, like, you can't bring government in on it. The government is what created this monopoly in the first place, and they benefit from it, and they won't do any kind of punishment unless they personally benefit from it anyway. So I don't think that's the option. The option is coming from us and bringing in alternatives. And I think with the blockchain these days, we can create shared bandwidth servers that we can allow people. Like, the biggest issue with YouTube was they sold to Google because they ran out of the ability to sustain the bandwidth, and Google was capable, and they built this infrastructure. So they sold to Google because YouTube kept going down. I don't know if you remember, but I think it was 2009 or something like that. YouTube kept shutting down. So they had to sell because they couldn't sustain it anymore. And it was all part of the agenda, I'm sure. But nonetheless, we have infrastructure these days where we don't have to worry about that bandwidth problem, and people can share bandwidth on their computer when using the site. So we need to develop that to its maximal capabilities and cater to the average person. By saying blockchain and crypto, people aren't going to go to it. That's not how it works. That's not how we will win. The only way we will win is by showing people that this is a better platform. Unfortunately, they're creating this politically correct culture where people will think, well, everything that is in YouTube now is suddenly bigotry and hate speech. And I went into that in an earlier report on this show. It's so crazy. Anyway, let's see. We got Ben Frank OG. Black silver does not exist, thus silver equals racist. I don't know. I've seen black stained silver. Maybe not so racist. Let's see. Zach Willis. That is a good answer. Many thanks. Thank you, Zach. Man, my throat's kind of going downhill from talking. Been talking a lot lately, and I got to talk all night at this Bitcoin meetup in Las Vegas, Sahara Boulevard at Vegan Bites. Make sure to come out to that if you're in Vegas. Ben Frank OG, shut down the thought criminals. Yeah, that's the problem. Josh, off to the gulags for you. Yeah, that's the plan, isn't it? The umpire's post, Jose may not be Spanish. I don't know. I just only know Hispanic people named Jose. Jose and Jorge, and I don't know. Anyway. What was weird about Spain was everyone was like, they speak Spanish with a lisp. Everyone has a lisp. And it's just weird. Apparently that came from royals years ago. I prefer Mexican Spanish, honestly. That's what I'm learning. Swampy McGee, corporations run the world, not governments. Corporations run the world, and the U.S. Army, Navy, and Air Force keep them safe and even more powerful. Well, if government helps these corporations, which are, by the way, incorporated with the state, which is worthy of understanding the definitions, then if the governments are protecting them, then do the corporations run the world, or does the government run the world utilizing certain corporations? Rainy Steps sent 279 again. Thanks for helping out. Thumbs up, heart, nerdy face. I identify with all of those. Thank you very much. Joni Mitchell, thank you. Thank you as well. Sean, I wish that was a real Joni Mitchell. I've been trying to get a hold of the real Joni Mitchell for years. I used to be a musician, and when I lived for a while in Vancouver, I tried to get a hold of her, but apparently she's not doing so well these days. Sean Murphy says, and I have chosen you to preach this evangel. Apocalypse of anarchy. Government equals mind control and organized crime, by the way. Thank you for your comment. Kieran Franey says, good job, brother. Sorry to hear of the trouble and crisis you have come up against lately, mate. Look after your emotional health as much as you can. I do my best. I used to be a Buddhist when I was young. I'm not so much anymore, but it taught me a lot as far as handling my emotions. I had clinical depression when I was younger, and I do not have any remnants of that anymore. I've been able to overcome it, and I usually just wave off things. I watched a guy's head explode a few days ago. I saw a guy get in a car crash, as I mentioned in a past video, and I tried to save him. I ran from my vehicle. I threw sand at the gasoline that was pouring out of the front of his vehicle. The other car rolled, but she had a seatbelt on. This guy didn't. I threw sand on the gasoline as his engine was on fire, and threw sand on there and put it out. And then I tried to get his door open. His head was on the passenger side, feet on the ceiling. Tried to help him. I didn't see his face at the time, only the back of his head, which felt soft. There's something wrong. Other people stopped. We tried to get his window open. I picked up a street sign, smashed in his window as much as I could. Couldn't get through the window, but eventually broke it. His windshield didn't break, by the way, when his head hit it at 60 miles an hour and 100 kilometers an hour, so 96 kilometers an hour for people outside of the United States. And I stopped and was able to get him out with the help of a few people, dragged his feet out, and put him on the ground. Two nurses started doing CPR. Ambulance took forever. Police took like 25 minutes. Anyway, we realized his head was exploded, basically. I had like brains and blood and guts all over my hands, and it was a pretty traumatic experience. And then I realized I wasn't traumatized. I've been so desensitized to these things over the years that I'm okay. And obviously I felt terrible, and I felt bad for his family. I think his name was Tuladito or something like that. It was a Hispanic name that I'm not familiar with, but he was 59 years old, died there on the site. We tried to find a blanket to put over him, couldn't find one. Finally, the ambulance showed up, left him laying there for, I think, 2 hours for children to see. It's horrible. Just shows you how inefficient government is. And then the helping hand of the stranger, the individual on the street, helping and doing whatever they can to fix the situation as much as possible, as fast as possible. I tried to save him. I couldn't save him. The teenage girl was fine. She had whiplash and some neck trauma, but she was okay. She was wearing a seatbelt, rolled over, and was fine. Soliton33, thank you for $2 Australian. I appreciate that. We've done a lot of reporting on Australia lately. Helps a lot. I got to scroll down a bit because I missed a whole bunch going on my rant. RVing we go. Keep up the great work, Josh. Sent $7.77 Canadian. Thank you so much again. Really appreciate it. All the help really keeps us going and makes it possible for us to do this, as I've said a million times, but I can't say it enough. These super chats have been lifesavers for us because YouTube won't let us function in any other way, that's for sure. And let's see. Thanks, RVing, says Rainy Steps. Swampy McGee says War Machine Bozos. Be off for Antarctica. I have no idea what you're saying. Sturls with A to Z. Don't live in the past, brother. I agree. Should never live in the past. Just reciting a story, that's all. Bob Collins 3, damn. Joni Mitchell, your eye. Typos. Anyway. Ben Frank OG, $2 in all seriousness. Keep up the great work, Josh. Thank you, Ben Frank OG. The OG Ben Frank, as opposed to the OG Ben Franklin, who I hear liked weird naked parties and orgies and Freemasonic stuff. But I appreciate his writing. Great quotes. Anyway, the Umpire's Post. They say the lisp goes back to some king who had it. People were trying to appease him by speaking like him. Yeah, I'm not going to say it because I'll get shut down for hate speech. Anyway. Big Zini, dang, buddy. Rest in peace. I agree. Rest in peace to that man. I don't know him personally. I guess that kind of took some of the pressure off, but it was definitely a horrible thing to watch. I couldn't get the smell off my hands for a couple days. It was just so horrible. Ben Franco G says, I'd donate more if I wasn't broke. LOL. Please don't donate if you're broke, please. I appreciate it. We all have struggles in our lives, you know. You just gotta make the best of the energy you get from a lot of this. Sausage says, hi from Antarctica. I somehow doubt that. But if so, hey, how's it going? Didn't someone just murder someone in Antarctica a few days ago? Anyway. What time in Antarctica? Because isn't that every time zone? Like, can you imagine going from time zone to time zone in Antarctica? I feel like you'd be... I don't know. I don't know anything about it, so I'm not going to pretend to talk about it. Let's see. Just scrolling down here. I'm surprised anyone's still watching. I'm just, like, ranting. John Andrews, $1. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, really goes a long way. It does. Practically more than I make a day on YouTube with monetization these days. Lotta Escoto says, it sucks. Josh won't talk about it. Talk about what? I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about. Zakia earlier said exactly to you. You said there is no honor in ignoring 9/11 truth. It has never been investigated. Only cover up for greater Israel plan. What are you talking about? My biggest videos are on 9/11. Other than like Robert Kiyosaki and a few others. I don't ignore 9/11. I talk about it all the time. In fact, I'm meeting up with my friend Richard Gage right away in Hartford, Connecticut, June 7th to 9th, Red Pill Expo, link below. Make sure to check that out. He's going to be speaking there. I'm going to be spending a bunch of time with him. I don't ignore 9/11 at all. Let's see. It's not hate speech, and you know it. Well, yeah, tell that to YouTube. I know nothing's hate speech. There's no such thing. Other than saying, I hate you. Well, that speech is kind of hateful, but okay, sure. Everyone has their own opinions. Papa Papis says, when do you think the Russian collusion will be hurled at Scheer and Bernier? Probably already is. But Scheer is milquetoast as hell. And again, Leaders aren't going to save you from leaders. You will save you from yourself. Be an individual and stop looking to collectivism to solve your problems. I got more stuff coming on Maxime Bernier soon. I've interviewed him before. I like him. I've spent a lot of time with him. I've had drinks with him. He's a good guy. But the answer is not politics, guys, and it never has been and never will be. And there's a reason why we've been doing this since ancient Greece and going in circles for eternity. It's not the answer. But yeah, the Russian collusion nonsense is ridiculous. And they'll loop it in with Iran somehow, probably. Anyway. Lada Escoda, the dancing Israelis, recent exposure of their foreknowledge. Yeah, there's a lot of truth to a lot of that. But there's also a lot of narrative being pushed towards a certain divide method so that people can attack each other and be distracted by each other and little issues like Israel, for example, to ignore things like Saudi Arabia and China. You know, it's all about restricting the narrative to a narrow path so that we deny other examples, and basically in doing that allow these other entities to function, because there's never enough energy put towards the ideology, the actions, and instead the identification and the I would say it's identity politics in a lot of ways in its own right. It's all terrible. I'm totally against the Israeli government, and I think the Israeli government should fall, but so should Saudi Arabia, and so should all the governments of the world. Anyway, Rainy Steps, another 279 Canadian. Thank you. Says, go Josh. Go me. All right. Jim sent, is that 10 pounds or euros? My eyes aren't good on the screen. But anyway, thanks for your great work, he says. You are a voice for many of us, and you are a credit to your generation. I appreciate that. That's one of the main things I like to try and be, is try to set myself apart from these millennials that can't open a can with a can opener, like I mentioned earlier in the video. It's crazy. Best thing to do is listen to other generations, and also do your own research and play your ideas against each other. Just try to not allow confirmation bias to rule your life, and that goes for all ages. Duane de Koning sent New Zealand $5. You should register as a creator on the Brave network. Don't rely on Google and the banking system for your livelihood. Keep up the good work. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm working on that, and we got someone that's working on that for me as well right now, that's trying to help me out with that, because, again, I'm not a tech guy. I'm just a money guy, and when it collides, it takes some learning curve a bit. But nonetheless, I'm definitely getting on the Brave network for sure. There's lots of ideas. There's Float, which my friend Kingsley Edwards is working on, which is FLOTE, which is going to be a big lifesaver for independent media, as well as Subscribestar, which we have linked below, and a lot of other options. Let's see. Let me just actually put this up on the screen for anyone if you're interested. I do have a Bitcoin address here. You could scan the code, and it helps us a lot if anyone wants to send tips in Bitcoin, because we have been pretty excited about the recent bull run in Bitcoin. And of course, governments and banks will do whatever they can to manipulate and bring the price down, or bring it up conveniently and then crash it. That's an example we could use on any market, but nonetheless, I'm pretty excited about the future of Bitcoin. And with that said, the market in general, and whatever replaces Bitcoin inevitably, because all markets advance as long as government doesn't restrict it too much, and all markets adapt, and we will see adaption and adoption in the crypto space for sure. Again, I will be at Vegan Bites Restaurant in Las Vegas, Nevada on Sahara tonight at 7 or 7:30 p.m., 7 p.m. I believe. So if anyone's in Las Vegas or in the area, come on by and say hi. I'm looking forward to seeing you. And we do have a sale on our tickets to AnarchoVegas, which we will be selling at Vegan Bites Restaurant as well. So make sure to come out to that. Lots of raffles, prizes, stuff like that, and good food. Adam says, cheers from Toronto. Digibyte to $4 Canadian. Yeah, I've always been very excited about Digibyte, and I think the future for Digibyte is awesome. And the community for Digibyte is pretty incredible, too. Anyway, no, I'm not going to blame the Jews. Come on. There's an ideology of control that we should look at and not be distracted by these things that they throw around to discredit people, and it's a psyop and bring people against each other instead of looking at the real problem, which is the actions of these, which the Chinese are doing as well, which the Saudi Arabians are doing as well, which most governments are doing, the US government's doing, and Israel. All these governments are part of the same program of control and destruction of free will, and it only benefits them for us to be further and further enslaved, no matter what the government is. So blaming Israel, yeah, you can blame Israel, but you should also blame all the other governments involved in this same complex and utilizing the same ideas. Anyway, it's not a popular opinion that's actually popular these days to blame the J word and blame Israel for everything, and there's more to it than that. And I think it's simplistic and kind of lazy, to be entirely honest. Jim says it's pound sterling, Josh. It was not much, but I hope it helps. It definitely helps a lot. I really appreciate that, Jim. Thank you. Let's see. Sturls with A to Z says, so true. These kids are not bright. Yeah, it's hard to find true intelligence these days in my generation, but nonetheless, I think that we should be optimistic. There are a lot of people that have had enough of the political correct culture and are trying to break free in any way they can. And in doing that, they will rebel. It's like the hippies rebelled against their, their parents, the World War II type generation, and then the children of the hippies, what do they call that, Generation X or something, rebelled against their parents. And you saw things like the show's Family Ties with what's that guy's name from Back to the Future? Michael J. Fox. And you saw that, it was a great example in the 80s, all these conservatives that came out of hating their parents because they were hippies, and then like their children became millennials and are super left wing, and then we're seeing it bounce back and forth. I just wish it didn't bounce between Pepsi and Coke, left and right forever. Collectivist paradigm. Adam says, if Digibyte were to reach $4 Canadian, 100,000 Digibyte would be worth, it scrolled down, would be worth $400,000. Absolutely. Jim says, Josh, your interview with G. Edward Griffin was superb. He is such a good man who can offer so much advice to your generation. Well done for interviewing a man of such standing. Mr. Griffin is one of my favorite people. I've been privileged to be good friends with him. It's strange. 24, 25-year-old friends with an 88-year-old man. But he is so youthful in his passion for freedom and individualism and anti-collectivism and the truth and all of that. It's just incredible. I've spent time at his house. He is one of the most inspirational people I've ever met. And he always has something to say about literally everything. And I've debated him, too, off the record and on a lot of occasions. Just sat at tables for 4, 5, 6 hours, not even eating our food. Our food gets cold as we just debate back and forth ideas. And then we all realize at the end, we all agree. We just have different definitions of things, different ways of looking at things. And he's incredible. One of the most incredible people. It's a living legend. If you haven't seen our recent G. Edward Griffin interview, the full one's up, as well as our video with him on Iran, which was cut out of the full interview. Definitely check that out. Heavily shadow banned and demonetized as per usual. Seasider, Josh, did they try and slip you a Mickey again in Vegas? No, but I'm sure there's no shortage of people trying to kill me, but it just doesn't make sense to me. It makes a martyr out of me. I don't understand why anyone would try and kill me. Let's see. It's the British, says Sean Murphy. Yeah. Lotto Escoto, that's only because it is a Rothschild construction, all of it. The 5 sons of Rothschild set it up. The Rothschilds are very heavily involved, Lotto, in that control complex that we see throughout the world, the Red Shields. Of course, I've been reading about the Rothschilds since I was 12. It's nothing new to me. I understand all that. I understand they're heavily in control of things, but it's not just one name. Just saying it's one name is a misdirection from the idea, the utilization of certain things. We can say it's all of them, but what happens if they die? New ones replace them. So what is the real problem? It's a utilization of tyranny and collectivism and control of the masses in order to benefit these classes of elitist scumbags that try to drive us or throw us or push us all towards slaughter under the guise of helping us. So yeah, the Rothschilds are heavily involved, but it's not all the Rothschild. It's many families and it's many institutions, governments. It's a use of that type of force that enslaves us. So again, the Rothschilds go, someone replaces them. David Rockefeller dies, what happens? Nothing. The complex continues to grow. Zbigniew Brzezinski dies, what happens? Nothing. The complex continues to grow. The technocratic superstate that Zbigniew Brzezinski spoke of so much is continuing to get worse and worse in China. His agenda continues to play out because it's a lot of people's agenda, and that agenda is the enslavement of mankind. So it doesn't matter who's in charge. It's a fact that it's happening. That is the problem. Adam says, if Digibyte reaches $25 to $30 Canadian, like Litecoin did at its peak, 2.5 Canadian to Digibyte, 100,000 Digibyte will be worth $250,000. Yeah, I know. It's great. I'm super excited about the future of Digibyte. I think that is very bullish going into the next bull market, the bull run. Of course, bullishness, the bull market doesn't begin until we hit our last all-time highs, and then we move above that. But the bullish nature of the market is incredible. And of course, it's subjective, and it comes down to individuals understanding where to get in and where to get out. And of course, never put more money into it than you expect to, or than you want to lose, or you're comfortable with losing. But again, I think it will come down to the value versus the price of living in the end when the fiat empire falls, and we will no longer be judging it by US dollars, and we'll be judging it by Bitcoin, Satoshis, Digibyte, coins, right? A Dash, Ethereum, EOS, Litecoin, BAT, all of these, Steam. I don't know. Anyway, so we will be coming back at you with a lot more. I think it's time that we should go. I'm planning on doing some streeters soon, but first I got to go to the Red Pill Expo in Hartford, Connecticut, June 7th to 9th. We have links below for that. And let's see what we got here. We do have a Dash address in the description, Litecoin and Bitcoin. Sorry, I didn't add Digibyte yet to that. We have it on our STEEMIT post, so at the bottom. Subscribe to our Patreon, GoFundMe. The Subscribe to our page is for subscriber-only content, which is not safe for YouTube. We also, again, we have the redpillexpo.org/RPE/WAM/ mouthful. And of course, AnarchoVegas 2019, which will be happening here in Las Vegas, Nevada, on July 21st with workshops and parties and dinners and all that before that. Andrew Tobin asks, hi Josh, when will the reshot structure documentary be ready? I can't say exactly when. It's a lot of work, 30 hours of footage to edit. I'm doing whatever I can while still posting videos every day, just so that I don't starve, It's monetary thing. But yeah, anyway, so we have a lot coming up. AnarchoVegas tickets, use promo code WAM and get 10% off of that. And of course, Red Pill Expo as well. I'm looking forward to seeing you, a lot of you guys at a lot of these places, and I can't wait. It's going to be a very productive few months as per usual. It never ends, and the travel never ends, and the adventures never end, and everything becomes a blur after a while. I guess that's a good thing. Try to live in 1 year what one person expects to live in an entire lifetime, and you're doing it right. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Thank you so much for the super chats. It really makes a difference. It's helped me enormously, and I couldn't thank you guys enough. You guys make it possible. You guys are the reason. You guys are the backbone. You guys are the heartbeat of world alternative media, and you guys keep us alive and keep us up and running. So it means a lot, and it means the future of us being able to enlighten people, bring education to people, bring information to people that they weren't yet aware of. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you again. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.